What is up, Impact Heroes? We have a very special episode today as we celebrate the highlights from 2024. Wow, it was an incredible year. We had some phenomenal guests of all different types from lots of different industries, anywhere from celebrities to athletes to musicians, you name it. All people that are making a difference and spreading positive change in our world. So you don't want to miss this episode. We hope you enjoy it, and we'd love to hear what you think afterward. Enjoy. What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it,
I constantly have faith that no matter what happens, God's plan will always triumph in the end. And that's a very comforting place to be for now. I feel that faith was something that was instilled by my parents with my upbringing as a Catholic, going to Catholic school and going to Mass on Sundays and the importance of religion. So I think in that aspect, that really was
available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
What is up, Impact Heroes? We have a very special episode today as we celebrate the highlights from 2024. Wow, it was an incredible year. We had some phenomenal guests of all different types from lots of different industries, anywhere from celebrities to athletes to musicians, you name it. All people that are making a difference and spreading positive change in our world. So you don't want to miss this episode. We hope you enjoy it, and we'd love to hear what you think afterward. Enjoy.
I think us people who lose a loved one, there's a lot of comfort in keeping their memory alive and letting the world hear about them. That it's changed me. It's changed me. And I didn't know great until I saw others be it with me when I was in pain, and I just couldn't settle for just getting by. That's why I believe so much in unlocking your greatness. We get to use our God-given gifts when we unlock them to elevate others and to support others.
I'm not perfect. I'm not the most assertive person. I still can't sometimes hold boundaries, but I'm working on it and I'm way better than 10 years ago. That's all I need to do, really. Just be better over time. It's not going to happen like this. That's what I said. It's over a long time. But what really matters is that you're going towards something better.
It's a magical thing that happens when we are vulnerable and we share our story. When COVID hit, I did an article on a 14-year-old who was suicidal and was hesitant to take antidepressants. And the minute I told her that there should never be any shame if you need to seek help for medication, I told her that I went on medication, and immediately her eyes lit up and she's like, "What, Dr. Monica, you took Lexapro?" It's like magic happens. And it's such a beautiful place to be in this world when you can be vulnerable.
If you think about this, 150 years ago, being overweight was considered wealthy and sexy because you had money. And so you could show you have food. Now take us 100 years into this, food's ubiquitous. And now it's the opposite. Yep. And it's the same thing that's going to happen with things. Things will be so easy to 3D print. There's going to be computers and AI bots running and making life so efficient that jobs will truly be a choice. And I don't know if it's universal income or just the fact that everyone can have the things that they are, but it'll be for pure personal satisfaction. And I think if we can, as a society, we stay together on that, it'll be a lot of time spent for us to do the deeper inner reflective work.
Over 40 is not the end of days. There are a lot more people out there who are now helping people guide them to kind of like believing that you can transform your 40s and 50s and beyond. My role is to get more and more people to buy into it because my approach is preventative or proactive. A lot of people are very much more reactive. My domain in life is how do I live a life where I actively engage and feel empowered to create for myself my best life.
So what is love? Let me check out ChatGPT. Love is a complex and multifaceted emotion that is fundamental to human experiences. It is characterized by a deep affection, attachment, or devotion to another person, entity, or concept.
So I look at myself in the mirror every day and I tell myself, I really love you. I started for the first time the past 4 years to really love myself for who I am. In not giving myself the time, the love, the care, and the attention. And when I started doing that, I feel more happy within myself. And people could see it. People say, wow, you are not the person I used to do. I say, yes, because I started to give myself the love. And how I did that, I did the hypnotherapy, but then I do a lot of mirror work.
How did you make that shift, or where did that come from that you were able to, see it as service and make it about others? Because you hadn't been that person before, you were saying.
I think a great dose of failure will lead to a little bit of humble pie. I think for me, the shift started to happen when I was winning. When you are successful, but you're failing personally, when you just feel like the more success you have, the less happy or the less contented you are, you go searching.
What can the world become if everyone starts believing that they can have an impact?
If people can feel empowered and feel like they have the ability to make an impact, that's the starting point for any successful impact story that we've ever seen. It all starts with that belief. So I think that mindset, although really hard to cultivate, especially when things aren't looking up in your life or in the world, can be really difficult. So easier said than done. But practicing tapping into that, I think, is just absolutely critical.
It took me many years of life to learn what my purpose was. Lack of purpose fosters depression and stagnation, and wandering aimlessly exacts a price that you don't need to pay. You want to create purpose in your life, so every day is an amazing day. Would love to know how you create purpose in your life and how you spark change. Every hero has their origin story of how they got to do the heroic work that they're doing. Where does that come from, and what really stimulated you to say, hey, here's a way that I can help, and then create what you created?
It comes from a project that I did a number of years ago. I collaborated with the Newark Boys and Girls Club and wanted to come up with a message that would really resonate with young people. Came up with some ideas and then developed a little seminar, if you will, and went once a week to the Newark Boys and Girls Club on a Saturday morning and taught a class on filmmaking. The thing that really got me when it was all done and we were saying our goodbyes, one of the kids came up to me and said, so are we meeting next week? And that stuck with me. Fast forward years later, when the idea of Will You Hear Me Now came to me, I thought, wow, this is my chance now to go back and work with kids in this capacity where they're really participating in the process.
It doesn't matter what name we have on our business card. We're all struggling with something. When we can understand subconsciously what's keeping us back and heal it, it allows us to rise higher, and we no longer are trapped by the law of the circle, the things that keep repattering itself into our life that hold us down in shackles.
There's a good reason why the number one regret of the dying is living a life others expected of them and not the life they wanted to live. And that's why courage is everything. A man needs courage. Not only does he need courage because he needs to be able to stand up for what he believes in, and that applies as much in his personal life, professional life. It doesn't mean that you need to stand up to a tyrant, but I push it even further than that. Can you really trust someone that's a coward? You can't. You don't know how they're going to react to any given situation. It's always a gamble. So if you're not courageous, you cannot be trusted.
Question for you. Are you a good listener? Okay, don't answer yet. I'm going to help you figure that out. Now, truth be told, I wasn't always a good listener. When I was younger, I was mainly focused on myself rather than focusing on others, which is, spoiler alert, one of the secrets to being a good listener. Now, listening is something I have worked on for many, many years and continue to work on each day. I have actually gotten to the point where I get complimented by people I interview for being a good listener. Now, I take those compliments as a good sign, although I know, and I'm sure my wife would agree, that I still have a lot to learn. So let me help you figure out where you stand. How can you tell if you're a good listener? Reflecting on my own journey, I've realized that self-awareness of where you stand is the first step to growth, really in anything.
We're not being our authentic selves because we're allowing social media, TV, advertisements, all this stuff, including friends and family, unfortunately, to say, hey, you're being too loud. You're being too quiet. You're too fat. You're too skinny. You're too this, you're too that. And essentially, we're just being put into this box, this prison of becoming someone that's not us. And it was at that age, I heard God say, you could actually be who you want to be. And he opened up my eyes to go, oh my goodness, it really is a choice.
Helping others. It's funny that people don't realize this, and people, just think about themselves. So many individuals on this planet, it's like the best drug in the world. You start helping people, you start serving others, you start doing things for others. And that fulfillment, that reward that you get, it's tenfold, 20-fold, 100-fold. I don't necessarily know that it's selfish. I know that it is self-fulfilling, right? It is self-fulfilling and it is rewarding. It's easy to say like, oh, I just want to do something for myself.
Yeah.
It's harder, like it says in scripture, to go the other way and let's do something for others. I think that's like, hey, yeah, you're going to choose the harder path. You're going to get the bigger reward. It's just difficult to see that up front.
Yes.
On the surface.
I think it's 100% correct. There's a common theme here. And it wasn't not until a number of years ago, someone turned me on to the hero's journey. When you look at just the type of narratives that we're used to seeing in movies, when you look at that story arc, it's usually us starting off on our own journey. And if we're fortunate, we meet people along the way that shift our perspective and shift that journey for us. And inevitably, we continue upwards in this hill. And it's never ever easy. Might look like a very simple path, but that doesn't make it easy.
I feel like the more we share, the more we talk about it, we just find the people, it'll spread. It's happening. When you go to World Happiness Summit or the Wellbeing at Work at Peloton, these are thousands of people getting together because it's like a force, definitely a movement. And I feel so happy to be a part of it. And it's catching on more and more. Find those people, because negative people and angry people, it's just not healthy to be around, and you need to get away from that toxicity. And as soon as you do and you find people that are like-minded, first of all, you'll be healthier and you'll be happier, but then you'll be able to go find more people and add to your group and your communities. And you all should be nice to each other. So find your people, because they're out there and it's growing like wildfire.
I remember when I was young and my mom would want me to go to these networking events, and she would always say, it's not what you know, but who you know. And I never really bought into that until I got older. And now I realize that it really is about building and growing that network, which is part of what makes the iSpark Change community fantastic. We think we're bulletproof, we're fine. That's not going to happen to me. And the reality is that we're all vulnerable, can happen to anybody and anytime. You're living proof that it did. How are you looking to impact on a bigger level now with regards to spreading cancer awareness?
That's where I'm enjoying going out on stage and speaking, of just trying to share my story. The biggest impact for me is to do everything that I can to get people to understand, number one, stress is the silent killer. And number two, men don't get checked. We don't go to the doctor. And I think about it, breaks my heart. There's no easy cancer, but if you catch those early enough, then there's a great chance you're going to be cancer free. But we don't do that. We wait till we're stage 3, stage 4, and then we got 6 months to live.
The bottom line is we block all of the really good possibilities in our life just by our beliefs. So it's fundamental to just change how you think, change how you see yourself, change what your beliefs are, and then all those possibilities open up for you.
When I was in school, the only reason I went back every day is if I got one win a day. So one math problem on Monday, I can come back Tuesday. One social studies question right on Tuesday, I can come back Wednesday. And I said, if I impact one person with this one post, I will post again. And I impacted one person. And then I got to go back tomorrow. So I got myself into this crazy cycle of running every night to motivational speakers and making a video when I was done and posting it. And if we impact one person, it was worth it. I was at my home school a couple weeks ago speaking to the high schoolers. And I said, if I impact one of you guys today, this was all worth it. The 4 years, the tens of thousands of dollars, the sleepless nights, if one person in this audience is impacted, this was all worth it. That was my mindset. That is my mindset. That's going to be my mindset.
Now, throughout my personal journey, from the lows of family tragedies and deaths to the highs of writing my book, 12 Hours of Heaven, and founding iSpark Change, I've experienced firsthand how mental health directly affects one's capacity to foster impact. Those challenging times did teach me that the value of self-care and mental health awareness is immense, not just for overcoming personal adversity, but for fueling our shared mission of positive change.
Try saying thank you every single day. It takes 0.1 seconds and it's free. Then why can't we say it every single day? Because it's counterintuitive and counter to human nature to do something every day. It takes the variant behavior of light, love, and lessons, of doing our best, learning lessons, and having fun to inspire us just to do the simple things every day, because the simple things to do are unfortunately simple not to do. So human nature is constantly creating interference between us and our potential. I'm trying to create a framework with wisdom and faith in order to facilitate an aggregation, acceleration, and compounding of the outcomes that you want or better in your life.
Somebody said, well, money will solve my problems. It's not money. It's usually a relationship issue. And the first relationship is between you and your creator or yourself, however you want to look at that, because you have to bring that peace into that place. And I think people are missing that step. They don't realize that you can have it all. You're destined to have it all. But you have to work, not that you have to earn it because grace is there, but you have to resonate to it.
A consequence of trauma is you don't think you're worthy enough to live that beautiful life that somebody's living. You're kind of destined for this. But I wanted to be a better wife to my husband, and I wanted to be a better mom to my daughter. And that was the driving force for me. I started with them, but now this is for me. I could live this life and I'm totally worthy of it, but it required me to do the work. Somebody couldn't give me that. It required some effort on my part.
You do have to put in the work, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's not a snap your fingers kind of thing. And I would add that it's totally worth it. It's totally worth putting in all the work so you can get to the other side.
My purpose is to impact as many people positively and to honestly prevent as many suicides as I can, to reach other people in an honest way about how suicide has affected my life and how people who are really struggling with it, they almost never want to say anything, whether it's guilt or shame or struggle. The ability to create those honest conversations when someone is struggling with it. If I can be a conversation starter in that, or if I can get somebody to have an honest conversation about suicide, then that's a successful life for me.
One of the most powerful ways we honor our loved ones is by sharing with others and not just keeping it to ourselves. Talk about the impact they had on your life and the lessons that they taught you. And by keeping their memory alive through storytelling, you inspire others to appreciate the significance of their own loved ones as well. And then you can live their values. So think about the qualities and values that they embodied, whether it was kindness, generosity. Strive to incorporate these traits into your own life, because that's going to create a legacy and positively impact the world for sure. And then you can be grateful. You can be grateful to reflect on the positive memories and the experiences that you shared with your loved ones, because practicing gratitude, that's going to help you find peace and appreciation for the time you had together. So the biggest thing is to just honor their memory through action. Let's remember that honoring our loved ones is a powerful way to spark positive change.
Most people die at 25 and get buried at 75. And so what that means is they give up their dreams. It's not that they're literally dead, but they give up their dreams. They give up the hope. They give up the goals. And so they just live the same miserable life choice for the next 50, 60 years, and they call it a life. The trade-off for me is, yes, I didn't like those first 18, 20 years so much, but man, I get to spend the rest of my life not even knowing what the word work means, because everything that I do is something that brings me so much joy.
If everyone takes action like I've done, number one, the world would be a better place. You would have thriving people, not people just living day to day trying to make it. So if you've got a community of thriving individuals that are happy with their day-to-day life, that have food, that have a safe space to be in a community where everyone knows the value of life. That's a problem too we have in the States. We don't value everyone if they don't look like us and don't have the same beliefs as us. So if everyone did their part, we would be better people. We would be healthier people, not just because we have food, but emotionally healthy. It's just a domino effect.
When you're walking down the street and you see someone that's different, you have an option. You either can stare at that person or you can look away. Well, when we stare at the person, we hear our mother screaming at us, don't stare. It's not polite to stare. You look away. Well, after 25 years of positive exposure, my friends have taught me that looking away sometimes is more painful than the staring. And so what we need to do is to steady our gaze, make sure that we see, hold it there for a second, give ourselves the freedom and the ability to see beauty there. And then everything changes.
As we continue to build our community of passionate and driven individuals at iSpark Change, we got to remember the importance of lifelong learning, because together we can inspire one another to stay curious, embrace new challenges, and to strive for constant growth. If you're going to embrace the power of constant learning as a lifelong journey, it's going to lead to countless benefits. It's going to keep your mind active, your spirits youthful, and your life enriched. When you do that, you're going to open yourselves up to endless possibilities and the potential for a profound personal transformation. Many people feel, as I once did, that they're too small to make a difference. What can the world become if everyone starts believing that they can impact the future in a positive way, as you have?
That's a great question. The world could become a community, and I think we could be a place where dialogue and sharing of experience is valued rather than arguing and trying to promote one thought over the other. Especially in our nation today, what we're seeing is more division than unity. I cling to the belief that most Americans still are in middle ground where we believe in equality, in individual rights, but also societal responsibility. We can live with one another even though we don't agree on everything. We're stronger together than we are divided.
There's no greater power than love, and you can always do anything. There's nothing that we can't do. Even if you just do something small for your neighbor, for the person sitting next to you, for the person who lives next door to you, even if it's bringing in their groceries, even if you just open the door for somebody at a restaurant or smile at the person who's checking out, you might make their day.
As a human being, you need to have compassion for people who are suffering. And I would go one more step. Feeling is not good enough. It doesn't do anything for the other person. You have to put it into action. Today, if you ask me what is my purpose, I want to put into effect that compassion in action and make a difference to their lives. You don't have to help people in India. Go out and help people in Africa or anywhere you want to, where the need is the most. We are all part of the human race, and we should reach out to who needs help from us.
Hard work often involves tackling difficult tasks or overcoming obstacles. And when you embrace these as opportunities for growth and learning, then that's where you really reap the benefits. Every act of hard work, no matter how small, contributes to the greater good and sparks positive change. Together, we'll continue to build a world that reflects the values of love, dedication, perseverance, service, and all those things that were instilled by those who worked so hard to pave the way.
A lot of people don't wake up. So I did that. And he said it takes a while for it to become a habit. And it did. But I stuck it out. And then eventually it turned into thank you, God. And I don't know where that came from. It just started to shift.
I am a diehard believer that there is enough success for everybody to go around, and we just need to be making room for every single person who wants to be at the table. I just love seeing people succeed. It's the best thing, and my goal in all of my endeavors is just to see people feel aligned in their calling and empowering them that they absolutely can do it.
Everybody has a mess. Some of us have turned that mess into a message. Some people are still stuck in that mess. If we all get through our mess and turn it into a message that helps others, then we all are kind of like entrepreneurs in our own way of like, we all have a spark of that entrepreneurial mindset when you find the breakthrough in your life, the thing that you never thought you could get through. And now you've broken through and you got through that thing. That becomes a vehicle to serve other people. And I think that's what we would all become, is servants to each other, which is what Jesus taught, right? Show up and be of service. And I think that's what we're all supposed to become. And if we can truly do that, man, the world would be unbelievable. It would be amazing to have everybody serving one another on a super high level.
The resilience of the optimistic mindset is one that helps create that ripple effect that we talk about on this program so often, because not only do optimists live better lives, but their positivity influences the people around them. Social support networks thrive, relationships are more joyful, and communities become stronger when optimism is at the core. So if you think that you're not super optimistic, the good news is that it can be cultivated by anyone.
When I found myself in law school, I was pretty terrified. I still had a survival mindset. Like, I just got to survive this. Like, I just got to get my homework done, do good enough to just pass and survive. And then I started listening to inspiring content. And I've come to know with certainty that inspiring content transforms lives. So I began listening to certain speakers like Les Brown every morning during my commute, and it changed me. It completely changed me. I started to believe in myself. I started to see new possibilities. One of those possibilities was maybe I could graduate number one in the class. And I made another internal commitment. I continued to listening to inspiring content that grew me, helped me believe in myself, empowered me, and sustained my commitment and inspiration. And I ended up graduating number one in the class. And I got an amazing job in New York City practicing law.
God blessed you with a gift, and you're going to serve the world with it. You're going to change and bless the world with it. honoring the gift. See, we don't know who's on the other end of our gift. We
Yeah.
don't know their season. And if we are someone different than who God called us to be in those moments, one step at a time, those who we are to serve and honor with our gift will not receive what God intended for them to receive. So God said, who the Son set free is free indeed. We have a responsibility for that.
I learned something, and I really, truly do believe when you go through something devastating, super hard, you're growing. We're all growing. And it's the matter of, are you going to take what you learned and use it for the positive? Or are you just going to stay where you're at and not move forward? And I believe wholeheartedly when people look at me and they're like, I can't believe what you're doing, and it's only been 20 months or whatever. That's how I am able to cope with things and deal with it. And true, I want to be a role model for my kids too. I want them to say, you can go through something horrible and come out better in the end, as well as be able to help people.
Do you know the power of a hug? I bet it's a lot more than you actually realize. I've always been a fan of hugs. The warm, tight kind that last for more than a couple seconds, the kind where you wrap both arms around the other person and you can feel more than the physical aspect of the interaction. For me, that's where I can feel all sorts of things, such as warmth. I feel kindness, I feel love, compassion, stress, frustration, anxiety, even comfort.
My motto is find your voice, speak your truth, change the world. I don't think we're accomplishing anything by hating people who are transgender and thinking that we're going to put them all in concentration camps. My purpose is helping people understand more about the people who are born transgender and to take that further, like Wendy says, humanizing, but also changing the perspective, changing the misunderstanding that people have around that, and ultimately making it a better world. It's what you're after. The love, the hope, the connection, the empathy. I think we can just make this a much better world if we amp that up instead of the fear and the hatred.
Kindness isn't softness, kindness is a strength. And if we see a world being kind to one another, everybody's experience of life will be different, will be better. I think we'd see no lack in society. I'm not saying that people won't earn different amounts and things like that, and some people will have more and some people will have less, but there shouldn't be any lack if we see a world full of kindness and where people are connected truly to one another, not just on Facebook and Instagram.
I have a purpose in my life. I get up every morning. I try to be grateful and happy and just do better than the previous day. I'm on a mission. Like in my office, we're totally full, booked way out in advance. And that was how they got me. They said, Reed, if you would teach others, because everything I developed was for our office to make us the best, that everyone walking in the door would get results. But when I kept hearing you would help a lot of people if you teach others to do what you're doing, I finally put a workshop together and it just took off from there. So yeah, having a purpose in life is amazing, and expanding it, making it duplicatable and expanding it is even better.
One of the ways we spark change here at I Spark Change is through being thankful and grateful, because the reality is we all have a lot to be thankful for and grateful for. We may not always realize it in the moment, but there are always things to be. As one friend of mine used to put, any day above ground is a good day for me.
I really feel like once people start giving back and they start getting involved with something, even just a baby step, you start to feel that you are being rewarded so much more than what you're giving to someone else. I feel like sometimes it's just almost selfish because it feels so good. It makes me feel good to be a part of that. And it makes me feel good to see other people feeling that. And you see new volunteers. It takes one step to get involved somewhere, and you'll feel what difference you make. And imagine if we all got to feel that. I think that's the way it's supposed to be.
I believe there is no transformation without courageous leader. And I like to say that, or to think maybe, that my work does help to contribute to make this place a better world. I'm engaging in several movements around the world, being part of the 100 Davos Women or chair of several organizations around the world. I lead with heads and hearts. This is how I am. This is, I believe, where I can really harness the power of people around me also. And when you spark change, this is the critical elements. The rest doesn't really matter.
I was placed on a journey of everything from a divorce after 20 years of marriage. My father passed the year after, and then my 2 sons growing and the birds leaving the nest. So now I do not call myself an empty nester. I call myself a bird launcher. So I think for me now, looking back after the 7 years of the things that I've gone through, which were very big life transitions, being able to speak about those now in my workshops or in my podcast that I host, or anytime I get a chance, even just being a guest, to be able to share vulnerably and authentically, I think is really, really important. And for me, now looking back and saying, I have a deep appreciation for everything I've been through, for all of those moments. And now I understand why things haven't happened as quickly as I would have liked. And I'm grateful that they didn't happen as quickly.
I constantly have faith that no matter what happens, God's plan will always triumph in the end. And that's a very comforting place to be for now. I feel that faith was something that was instilled by my parents with my upbringing as a Catholic, going to Catholic school and going to Mass on Sundays and the importance of religion. So I think in that aspect, that really was driven by my parents, especially my father having a very strong faith. Wow, what a fantastic array of the best of 2024. Those were some fantastic highlights, some of my personal favorites and some from my team. We know you enjoyed them and got a lot out of this episode. We are looking forward to an incredible 2025. We got big things coming up in 2025, some changes for the iSpark Change podcast. Biggest one being that we are switching our airing dates to bi-weekly. So every other week, this podcast will be dropped. That will allow us to have greater promotion of each episode. It will allow us to have bigger and better guests and devote more attention to those guests, and also to get more in depth with our guests and those conversations. So look for those conversations, look for the new airings, and we know you're going to love them. And we look forward to seeing you in 2025. Enjoy.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here is what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Performance made me feel some type of way. My name is Craig Siegel.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.